Hey people, I told y'all I was going to read 5 and 6 next, but I found something much more interesting in 7 and y'all going to like. It talks about the war in the Polymos and the war against, the Polymos say meta against to meta, and then the dragon ward back, the Draco Nephilims, and so we're going to get a better idea about where the word Nephilim comes from and what that means. And this word meta, every time it comes up they say it means with. And you'll see it just at the bottom of this chapter. Now it means war with, the Polemon with, Polemon meta. So all this Greek and like the Hebrew, it has a couple different stories in it depending on your knowledge of how to read marks. But you can read this off the top as Jiggin in top alum as in two, in top alum as in two. The TO, the NE lets me know that's a B. It's in, and it's in top alum as in two. That was one of our favorite games as a kid. We would find a big dirt mound where they unloaded a truck and we'd climb on the top of it and push everybody off, called King of the Mountain, top alum as whoever's on the top. And so there was war in heaven, and again in top alum as in. And then when the angels of him warred against the dragon, it's to wop alum come sane tattoo, the dragons, to wop all of them. This is TO, the Vav here, the W, the U is telling you to grab the O behind it, and it's wop. Wop is a slang term for the Italians. It's also, probably come from they were the police and they were whopping all of them. And then the line over here says move the M over, come same, S-A-I-M, come the same it tattoo, with the same tattoo. And then the next time, it's the Draco Nephilims in. See how this word changes up every time. And so this is where people were getting the term Nephilims in, and they were a giant warring people. But with the correct reading of this, when you follow the directional marks, it's not just in again in two, but its key is the Vav. Same as this letter here. It's a Vav. It's a W, a U, or a V. V-O-T-E. Tells you to read it backwards. Vote. And then the N-E replaces a B. And it's the vote in. And vote means the wish in. The wish in. G-E. G-E. GG means one by one, or also the jig in two. The one by one in two. And wishing the jig in top alum as. And then the EN reads as in, but with the markup here it's reading NE. And that replaces the BE, And so it's Ben, in that time. It's either BN or VN, Ben or Ven. Vote in a Jiggin top alum as Ben. And this is tattoo, TO, and then tells you to read the T twice, tat, and then TO, and then this O here. And then this mark tells you to read this on, and then come back to they wear on, wearing, and then honor. And the tattoo wearing honor. And so it was telling a story about some women above this, so just let you know which woman it's talking about. And wishing and jigging it top alum as been tattoo on wearing honor. The one with the tattoo. And then the O is of Michael is what they say. But I believe this says the mix-all. This is just a guess. I'm going to have to study this more, but the mix-all makes me think of of a mixer. Mixer. And back in the mid-'80s when I first encountered this tattoo, it was on a homo, and he told me, that's what it represents. Mix all, ain't turning none back, mix them all in. He was like God, the mixer. And then, this key is ahoy. Ahoy. Hoy is, to call, and to hoy, to call attention to. And so the tattoo of the mix-all, to a call attention to. And so this word they give angels here, it's reading backwards, y'all. And if we use the Greek rules of the double G, they make the first one N. This would make this to y'all in ganja, loy. Ganja is an ancient word for weed, and loy, it's where your word lure come from, allure. Loy is where lure come from. But it also means law, and not just law, but it's a written. It's where your word letter of intent come from. It's a law or rule. If you were a married politician, and you were screwing whores, she would have to show up with her loy, a letter of intent to say that you go sue her if she ever talks. A document declaring a preliminary commitment of one party to do business with another. And y'all allege. The mix-all, to call attention, y'all allege the gag alloy, the no-speaking contract. Avaught to, A-V-A-O-T, avaught, what you ought to do, avaught what to wop allum. Come same, the tattoo, wooder accountos, the wooder account as, O's are those types of people. And so it's not the dragon, but it's a type of people. But then this last warring down here going to let us know what the Nephilim is. And you see the ahoy spelled different now. This is ahoy, call attention to. But this is, W-O. And would reckon. Reckon is when you're thinking about all the past movements to figure out, where your ship is, to reckon, figuring up. And so this reads backwards, and it's would reckon in. And then Shemel. Shemel, O is of. The Shemel of people, P-E. And then P-O-L-E. The Shemel of people comes in. And so a Shemel is a word they try to hide the meaning. In Slavian, the Shem is a tukin, is tuking what? But knowing this is a Hebrew word, I know it reads backwards, and it's twin, T-W-I-N, the twin cut, then taking what? And so it's where your word scheme comes from. The H, a lot of times you put the C in there, it's the scheme. And it's, I'm going to take a double cut, a twin cut, to taking what? In English, it's schemes. And so a shemel is a schemer. A shem, a scheme, and it ain't quite right. And so in shemel, in scheme, in the schemer of the people comes in. And so the Nephilim is the schemer of people. And so the people are part of the Nephilim, and the schemer cons them into what they do to war back. The shemel of people comes in. Ahoy, allege, y'all allege, gag alloy, the gag contract, the gag letter of intent, to not talk about of ought what to, or what you ought to do. Better get a contract. This OS, at the beginning of this is the type of people. And so the way the poet writ this was, what in GG, in topolum allos, and in topolamos. What in GG, one by one, in Topolamos. It's not just and there was a war. It's what fell like dominoes. And then in heaven, is Ben tattoo on wearing honor. People didn't know. They're reading this to the whore on. And but it's always describing of something being war. And that was, of the mix-all. That was the tattoo being war. And ahoy, and a call attention. Y'all edge. Y'all write a gaggle order of what to whop 'em all as comes same it tattoo. Wood or a conto, wood, WODR, would her accountants, her contos, her accomplices, her contos, conto calculation. And so it's not against, but it's with, and you better get a gag order of what about to whop all 'em come say with, to say with, the same it, to say with, to what are contos, better get a gag order for her and her accountants. Would reckon in Schemmel of people comes in. Ahoy, y'all ledge, y'all write a gag order of what to. So the way I see it, we've just been having the same problems forever. If you want to read this as a prophecy, it's in voting jigging it topolamos. A topolamos, when you're labeling something, to poll 'em as, and a voting jigging to polamos Democrat. And been to wear in honor of the Michelle, the mix. It's the new flag of Michael, of the mix-all to ahoy, to call attention to. You better get a gag order to whop everybody who comes with the same mark, the acontos. And so if we break this word down a little more, the Nephilims, this is would rock on in, WODRAKON, and then a B, to rock on in, to sneak it on in, and scheme the low people comes in and call attention to the gag order, what about you to do. So this gag order, it was nicknamed Angels, because a gaggle, is a group of harpists, when the harpists come in, they're playing the harps, the angels. And so this gag order, to make sure they don't talk, is death. And that's what it says is here, is the vote in GG one by one into Polam as in taught to of honor, TOT in TOTTO of, in taught to of on where in honor, to do it in honor of Michael. Call attention, ahoy, y'all ledge, y'all right, the Gagaloy, death of what ought to be done. To whop 'em all comes same it too, in meta. Whop 'em all comes same it too, comes same with to what are contos, what are accomplices. Knock 'em all, to whop 'em all. Would rock on in shimmel of people, much as in to call the death contract, what of. And so this word, to the vote in, VOTE, B is in the vote in one by one in it to poll them as. That's where your word phishing comes from. It's a type of social engineering where an attacker sends fraudulent message designed to trick a person into revealing sensitive information, get them talking and phishing. And that would be known as what in Jiggin, the fisherman. It's what, W-O-T, what the end jigging it to pole 'em as. Jigging a pole, you're fishing. They don't give a damn who you vote for. They just trying to get all this extra information from you. It don't matter who you elect or who they place in there. Vote means wish. And taking the vote one by one. In taught wearing honor. Thought you was doing it in honorably. And Michelle call. Ahoy y'all ledge the gaggaloy. Avot what to what all them to come say. Meta. To would'er account as. Would rock on in and shemmel of the peoples, much is in, and call for the gag order of what ought to. So this Michael here, they'll tell you that, this is the cross of Michael, but on the water, this is the cross of Michael. It means I have a doctor on board. And being that they're talking about fishermen, I'm going to go with the tattoo of unwearing honor of the doctor on board to call. Y'all ledge a gag order. Y'all ledge a gag law of what to what all of them come say Meta. And this is why Meta changed their name. It's not a prophecy, it's a playbook. And so it goes on telling several stories, and it comes down and it's got Ukraine in there, the EUQRAINE, the Ukrainist. It tells that story too, and it gives me a better idea of what Ukraine even means. You can see the tack here, and where it's one of those words, it's in a jar, few crave. The N turns into the B on the way back. And they always read the Q as a PH in Greek, and that lets me know that it must read as a K sometime in the Ukraine. And so if it was just Ukraine, that's what it would mean, was who crave. But it was probably pulled from the word, reading backwards, starting right here, B, in the jar, few crave. They try to make it like a valuable piece of property, but nobody wants it.
I still have armies in the Ukraine.
Yeah, the Ukraine. You know what the Ukraine is? It's a sitting duck. A road apple, Newman. The Ukraine is weak. It's feeble. I think it's time to put the hurt on the Ukraine.
I come from Ukraine. You not say Ukraine weak?
Yeah, well, we're playing a game here, pal.
Ukraine is game to you? How about I take your little bonus?
Don't forget. Hurry, I won't forget.
Alright, I'm going to cut this off here. Good day.